I greet you all. My name is Gertrude Pswarayi-Jabson. I work with the Participatory Ecological Land Use Management Zimbabwe. I'm also an Earth Jurisprudence graduate and part of an African Earth Jurisprudence collective. These are Africans who are working closely with communities to reweave the basket of life and really understanding this from the African perspective and drawing from the wisdom of elders. I will share with you an African perspective on the cosmology of agroecology and ecofeminism. Um, our understanding really comes from our relationship with nature. I take from the stories that I heard from my teachers under the Earth Jurisprudence, and also learning from elders from communities, that the way we understood how to relate with nature, which meant production of our food, relationship with the wilderness, and the farmland where we produce our food, it was done within a cosmology of understanding the entirety of an ecosystem and how it functions. So when we interact with nature, we do it in such a way that we use the laws of nature that we tend to gather by spending more time in nature. Our ancestors got this law by being embedded in these laws of nature, spending time in nature and understanding how rivers functions, how forests function. And from there, they had a relationship, a deep relationship to interact with the various beings that exist in our communities. The community of life, the web of life, what forms the web of life. So when it came to the production of food, it is our understanding that we are producing food as part of participating in a complex ecosystem where different life forms exist. So not just human beings, but we have trees, we have rivers, we have soils, we have insects, we have the bees. And what particularly excites me most about the our understanding is that we formed a relationship that is quite deep with other beings. For instance, totems in Africa were really connected to animals. So you'd find those with the bee totem, which meant they celebrated the bees, which are very critical in production of food because they are the pollinators. They facilitate the pollination of plants. And by doing that, that allowed us to produce food. We celebrate the totems of monkey. My mother is actually from the monkey clan. And our relationship when we see monkeys, we do not kill monkeys. We celebrate monkeys. When we produce our food, we harvest and leave some for the animal beings because we acknowledge that we participate in the much complex web of life, as Thomas Berry tells us, that humans are part of a complex system and they need to participate in the web of life. So we got the law from the land. We got how to relate with the land, with the rivers, with the soils, from understanding the laws of nature. This is where customary governance comes in Africa, in that we formed laws to help govern human beings, not to govern or manage nature, because we understand that we can never manage nature because we are part of nature, we are part of that complex system. And our role really, when we form these laws, are really to meant to help us to govern ourselves as human beings. For instance, in my Shona tradition, we have laws that you do not cut down trees because we recognize that trees are also living entities. In our customary governance system, we know that there are certain things that women can do as part of the community. There are systems that we tend to follow, the cycles that are connected to a much to the universe. We know the times to plant, we know the times to harvest, and the times to do certain ceremonies and rituals. These were really done to help us to reconnect with the web of life. And these laws, unlike the laws that we tend to have in the modern society where law is written, it was law that was unwritten. That's the form of customary governance in many African countries. So through unwritten laws, there was a way of passing this law from generation to generation. It was done through storytelling, through ceremonies, through rituals, and particularly what I would say is the value of rituals in maintaining the ecosystem, particularly if we're looking at agroecology and also the component of feminism. So I'll talk, for instance, about the need for us to really do rituals around the protection of sacred natural sites and territories. The understanding from what we learn from our elders is that these are places of high potency. They are like acupunctures where they are connected throughout the globe. And it is our role to perform rituals to ensure that these places remain potent and are able to sustain different forms of life. And there is a deep connection between the sacred natural sites and territories with the different roles that are played by different individuals in the community. For instance, in Africa, seed really is seen as um, being under the custodianship of women. So women are the seed keepers. My grandmother, for instance, would keep seed. She had a particular way of knowing which kind of seeds to select. She knew what she needed to select, when to do it, and at times she would visit the granaries where we kept the seed. And always she would tell me stories about the need to keep the seed alive. And always she would say, I'm going to speak to the seed so that it does not go to sleep. And for Westerners, this doesn't make sense because seed is a commodity. But for us and for many indigenous communities, seed is alive. It carries its own life form. And as human beings, we really need to appreciate the importance of seed and treat seed as a being with its own form of life. And our relationship needs to improve to ensure that we bring the potency of that seed. We carry the seed and respect it, that it's a form of life. What we are seeing, particularly when we do work around seed, I have been doing seed work in Zimbabwe and Southern Africa, where we are seeing the commercialization of seed. There are laws that are being crafted to patent life. And this is something that's unheard of in Africa, that you can never own life, but we only come in as participants. We come in as custodians of life, but we can never own life. So that explains how we relate to seed, how we relate to land, how we relate to other beings in the ecosystem that form the broader ecosystem of life. So capitalism will tell us that You have to have private ownership to land. You need to patent seed. You need to control people who are going to produce the food. But really, for us, we are just participating. We are participating as beings in this web of life, and our role is to be custodians. And I'll just briefly touch on the aspect of Ubuntu, which then also is linked to the feminism component within the African cosmology. That when we looked at our relationship as part of a broader ecosystem, we valued each human being and the contribution they bring to deepening the relationships in the ecosystem. And through that, there was no domination. Every being played a critical role in sustaining all forms of life. So the idea of domination that we see in the capitalistic world where men dominate women is something that does not exist in the true understanding of the male and female and how they interact. And always when I interact with elders, I am asked to go back to the story of origin, to truly understand how we related as Africans in between male and females, how male and females related in Africa, that there was no domination, there was equal participation, and each really respected the role that every being in the community participated or played in contributing to the web of life. I know I had only 10 minutes to share with you some perspectives from Africa regarding agroecology and ecofeminism. But in summary, I would say from an African perspective, we really need to rethink our relationship with the broader community of life, and also to trace back the story of origin when we are really talking about the relationship between male and female. So thank you so much. I sincerely hope that you find a deeper understanding as you continue to have a conversation around this area. I appreciate you all.